On the frontier, the chuck wagon was a place for food and conversation on the trail. Cookie just finished breakfast here at the Agile Chuck Wagon podcast. Grab a cup of coffee and stay for a short talk on an agile and lean software delivery topic. Here's your host, Chuck Durfee. Hi, today's talk is on the Decorator pattern. As a developer, the Decorator pattern is one of my favorite design patterns. I think it's underutilized in many programs, and it's pretty simple to implement. This being a podcast over audio, I'm not going to really delve into the implementation of it. There are a lot of sites on the internet that can show you how to implement this pattern, but I am going to talk about why it's important and where you might use it. The Decorator pattern is used when you have an object that you want to extend or enhance somehow, but you don't want to modify the original. Maybe you don't have the source code for the original, or maybe the original is still useful in other contexts in your program. Now, I'm not going to pretend that every person who listens to this podcast is a developer, but I did want to give one technical example. Let's say you're writing a banking program, and you have an account object, and that account object knows how to handle deposits and withdrawals without allowing people to game the system. But let's say that your business wants to offer different kinds of accounts. There are different kinds of checking accounts, for example. Maybe you want to offer different terms on a business checking account or a preferred checking account than you do on your regular checking account. But you don't want to mess with the account object. It's working great. The Decorator pattern is a way that you can handle this. The technical implementation basically says that you take a copy of that account object and put it inside your enhanced Decorator class, and then you use methods on that enhanced class that call back to the original object and do whatever you need. Now, if that sounds to you like the adapter pattern or the proxy pattern, you'd be absolutely right. All three of those patterns use a very similar implementation. The purposes of the patterns are different, though. I did a workshop a couple of years ago where participants brainstormed different contexts for the Decorator object, and I wanted to share some of those with you. The example that I gave in the class was, let's say that you want to give your father a camera lens for Christmas. Most people wouldn't go and just hand him the camera lens. In our culture, why we typically do something with gifts, we normally take them and wrap them in paper and put a nice bow on them. And in that way, the simple camera lens has become more than just a camera lens. You've added some context to it, and now it has become a gift. So a gift is an everyday example of the Decorator pattern. Another example could be clothing. Now, of course, we all wander around with clothing every day. That's part of our social norms. But if you take a piece of clothing like thermal underwear, not only is it clothing, but it also adds an additional layer of protection that allows you to survive in colder temperatures. So in that sense, clothing could be considered the Decorator pattern. You could also take a more abstract example, like you have a piece of information, you have something that could be damaging to somebody's reputation. There are people known as politicians who will take that and they'll put a certain perspective or spin on that. So you could consider spin as a decorator to information. Or perhaps you're interested in taking and boosting the performance of your car by using nitro. That is a decorator to the car's to enhance the car's performance. One of the more famous examples from modern media might be Iron Man. You have this guy, Tony Stark. You put him in a suit, which acts as a decorator and gives him a whole bunch of extra abilities. He can shoot energy beams, he can fly, and so on. If you like Star Trek, why, the Borg are certainly an excellent example of the Decorator pattern. They augment their bodies with various mechanical items that are meant to look terrifying, but are also meant to give them special abilities. You can also use the Decorator for appearance, too. The trim that's on your house is certainly decorative. It doesn't affect the function of the house, but it certainly does make it look a lot nicer. You could argue even that plastic surgery falls into this category, that people conduct these elective surgeries in order to look better and gain social standing or even job promotions and so on. That's it for this discussion of the decorator pattern. If you like this discussion and be interested in covering other patterns, please leave a comment. Thank you. We're packing up the chuck wagon for another day in the field. Thanks for listening. Agile Chuck Wagon is a production of DurfWeb. Chuck Durfee is an Agile coach and software developer from Denver, Colorado, USA. Direct questions or comments to Chuck at his email, chuck@agilechuckwagon.com. The background music is called Waiting for the Rain, uploaded by user Sky Coyote to the community audio section of the Internet Archive under a Creative Commons Attribution and Share Alike license. Hope to see you again soon. Happy trails.